All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Romeo, can you hear me clearly? It's my background too noisy.
No, no, no. Your background is not noisy. I can hear
All
you.
right. All right. Good. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. And welcome once again to BlockchainUNN React Masterclass. So, today we have with us Mr. Romeo, who's the amazing lecturer, which taught us in our first class, right? And today we'll be continuing from where we stopped last week. So if you are just joining the call, right, click on the share button, get the link, share it on WhatsApp, share it on Twitter. Let's get more persons benefiting from the wealth of knowledge that would be dispensed tonight. All right, Mr. Romeo, you are welcome. And because of time, let's just get started.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can
I
you
can
guys
hear
hear
you
me?
clearly.
All right.
Yeah, I can hear you
All
clearly.
right. All right. Then I will be kicking off. Now, let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Ezekiel is here. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, I can see your screen.
All right. So this is our course outline for the React JS tutorial, and on our first meeting we have covered this introduction to React, and then we'll be diving straight into components and states. Though since we started working with React JS, all we know about is the functional components. That's what we've been using since. That will still go over it a little bit today before going on. All right, we move. So this is an empty React application, just empty. All right, this is just empty. This is only what we have here. All right, after running npm stats, this is what I have. So I want to create a component. Now, why do we have components? Now, React.js is being broken down into different components. Components as in sections. Now, if I'm to start creating a full application inside this single app, this app.js file, this thing will be too clunky and full that even when I want to debug it, will be very hard for me. So that's why everything is broken down into separate components depending on the function of that particular component. And the React.js component is just a simple JavaScript function. When we talk of function, now a function is a block of code that is reusable. It can be called on different occasions to be used. Now, I want to create a React component. First, let me delete this particular one we created in our last class and make everything new. Hope you guys are hearing me. Hope you guys are hearing me. So, Darlington, are you hearing me? Hello? All right, Ezekiel said he's hearing me. That's cool. So I move. All right, so we are about to create a component. So I start the components. All right, component. I'm creating a component folder. So inside it, we have a component, a file. So the component should be named based on what I'm using it to do. And now, a rule, the first rule you should obey is that when naming your component, the first letter should be capital. Don't use small letter. So I want to create, let's say, an employee component. Employee.jsx. You can choose to use JSX as a file extension or just JS. We are all working in a JavaScript file. I believe you understood what JSS is and what JSS does. All right. So I'm choosing to use GSX. And then this is my components, an empty component. Then I'm typing RAFCE. I believe you know this from this extension. It's an extension that helps us complete this autocomplete. And what's it? ES7. Yeah. All right. This is it. ES7, ES7 React Redux Graphical and React Native snippets. So that's it. So this is a simple functional component. Now, this particular component is started from React 16.8. No, it's been available, but it's like a stateless component. That's what it's been called. It's a stateless component. But the what's it called? The class component is the stateful component because it allows states. But from version React version 16.8, where there was an introduction to React hooks. So everything we're talking about, I think we are React 18. So everything we're dealing with now is a new something. So I believe we all know how to create a component. Yeah, we've done this before. So let me say render content here. This is my employee component. All right. Then I want to render it in my app.js. But first thing I have to import it. Import employee from / component and then employee. Why? Because I exported it as a default. The reason why I'm exporting the component so that it can be used in other components. All right. And then I have to render it here, which is employee as a self-closing tag. I believe you all know how to do it, so that's why I'm rushing it. All right. And this is it. This is from my coming from my employee components. So I believe this is clear. Ezekiel, Henry, if you're there, please say something. Let me know. All right. So we've talked a bit about functional components. I don't have much to say about it because we'll be using it almost in everything we're going to do today. Everything we'll be doing, we're making use of functional components. But then let's talk about the class components. Now, the class component before becoming of the functional components. Now, the class before the coming of hooks rather. Now, the class components dominated from React 16.8 below. What I'm trying to say that from 16.8 and above, that's where you React hooks was introduced. So React from below, anything less than 16.8 made React class components a requirement. All right. And then how do we create a React class components? But first off, I believe we all know how to pass a prop. I think I will use this to explain better. Are you guys in this session? Please, if you're here, say something. I don't want to be talking to myself. All right. Ezekiel said it's clear. It's the only Ezekiel that is here. All right. Anyways, we'll still move on regardless. Others can catch up whenever they're here. All right. So oh my camera was on. I didn't even know. Okay. So I want to make use of props. I believe I've explained props before. Though I'm still going to touch it. It's still part of what we have here today. Yeah, props here. But then let me just make use of it a bit. It will help me explain better. So I would say name should be equals to All right, this is good. And then I'm passing the value here, getting props. All right, I'll be like, all right, employee props that's name is a React, more like Mr. is a React developer. All right, so then this is it. I think, all right, Mr. Romeo Scripts is a React developer. So let's talk about class components. Now, like I said, class components were mostly used from React 16.8 below. Though you may still see some projects now that still make use of free class components, but mostly what you face now is functional components. All right, let's talk about a class component. Now, I want to create another component here, which is let me say class.jsx. All right, and now what's the difference between this particular component here? All right, it's still um let me just do it here instead of creating another one. So I could create a class normally in JavaScript. You know, there's a class keyword in JavaScript. So I could say class employee, all right, with with the curly braces, exactly, more like. So now this is a normal JavaScript, a normal vanilla JavaScript, something stuff. Are you people around? Sorry, I need to constantly keep checking on you guys to know what's going on. Ezekiel Samuel, what's up? Are you still around? Tell me you're around. Tell me you're around, and I'm not talking to myself. All right. Please say something so that I can move on. Say something so that I can move on. Where are the rest? All right. He's following. That's really nice. Thank you for at least giving me hope. Okay. So then, all right, class employee. Now, normally, what we first and do is creating, let's say, a constructor, right? Now, probably the constructor is expecting values. Let's say the constructor ought to have initial values, but in this case, we are not having any initial value. What we have is what we should be expecting is a render function. All right, a render function. Okay, and then you should return. Right. All right, you should return. Let's copy this and see what's gonna happen. If I'm wrong, tell me. Well, what did I do wrong? I think it's been a while I made use of class components. Sorry, let's just check online. It's been a while I made use of class components. All right, class components example. All right, I think I've made use of All right, class-based components. Oh, sorry, this was my mistake. Ouch, I've seen it. All right, the render function. That's where the error came from. All right, the render function means inside here, you should be expecting this. Hearing the name alone, you should understand what's going to happen. The render function expecting this is what should be rendered to the screen. Yeah, there should be a lot of errors already because of this particular employee. They are both the same. All right, but then what is wrong with this particular thing is that I can't really pass props from this employee class based components. Why? Okay, it's not inbuilt, unlike the functional based components. The functional based component, I can pass props directly without having to import and external something from React. Yes, but in order to pass a prop to a class based component, I need to import components from React. All right, and then extends class employee extends components. Okay, so what simply is going on here is that this employee, this guy here, is inheriting from the components. And what is it inheriting from this component? Normally, in vanilla JavaScript, a class makes use of the this keyword. That's a little bit confusing most times. In most cases, most people may not know when and how to make use of this keyword. So in this case here, what we are what we are taking away from this component is the this keyword, this dot props. So with this, I'm able to take out this dot props from this component here. So with this being done, I've recreated the class components for this. So I could literally remove this particular one. What's wrong? Tell me I did something wrong. What's something that I didn't do correct? Oh, I didn't add a return statement. Sorry. All right. This is working fine now. So if I should come over here and see this. So this is still the same thing that's going on here. Hope you are following. Are you still following me?
Yeah, I am following. I am following.
All right, that's good. So with this being said, I was able to import the this keyword. I took out this dot props from this particular component here. So well, we are not really talking much about the class components. Our main focus is making use of um, the functional components. This is just a little bit introduction to the class components, and that's just all I have for this class component. So, but then what does the functional component bring in that the class component doesn't have? Now, with the addition of hooks to the functional components, everything is pretty easy and faster. Unlike class components, now if you are to make fetch data from an API or something, you have to be making use of component did mount, component did update, and it's kind of bulky. But in the new way, in the new ways of in the new implementation of hooks, everything seems pretty easy and readable and a lot better. So I'm going to scratch out making use of class component. Just wanted to teach this to make sure I follow the timetable. And then this is off the hook. And then this is back. Then I can choose to remove this. From React 18 and above, we don't need to import React.js from React library. Notice that we're working in React already. So this still remains like this. So based on our timetable, next thing we have is props. And believe we all know about props. Now, props is a way of passing data from one component to another. Now, I'm going to talk about these two things together, rendering lists, items, and then passing props. Now, in order to pass props follow a particular component tree. Now, you have to pass from parent to child. You don't pass from child to parent component. Now, talking about passing from child to parent component is a different something entirely. But you don't pass from child to parent components. It follows from parent to child component. So this is the parent component that is accessible to employee. So I want to create something here. I want to create an array of objects. All right. I want to create a array. No, all right. Let's put it this way. All right. An array of objects. All right. Let me say name array school and then all right about front-end developer. So I'm going to copy this particular stuff here. And then okay. So I'm going to say Darlington neck backend Romeo Peter. Let me say DevOps. Don't mind my spelling of on developer. All right, I think this is better. Now I want to pass this particular information. This is not where I want to make use of this particular information. I want to make use of this information in this employee component. So I want to pass it down to the component. So now I have to create a pointer to this content here into this imported JSS component here. So I have to create a pointer. I could name it whatever I like. Let me say UNN equals to curly braces and then this. So this is a pointer to this particular array. That's what I just did here. I created this as a pointer to this particular array. So if I should go to make this particular array available in this employee component as UNN. So if I should go to my employee component over here, I could console. I should see this in my console. All right, console.log or props.unn. All right, I think this should be all right. So if I should go over here, inspect and all right, I have an array here, array of four items, four objects, which is Henry dot. This is the information. Now this and where is it rendering from? Employee dot JSS. This is now available in employee, but it was initially created at app.jss. But because I passed the data as a pointer, I passed the data into UNN as a pointer to it. So now, how do I display these items into separate, each one for each and one for each? So that brings us to this topic, rendering list items in React. So I want to list out these particular items one after the other. All right. So what do? I believe I need to map through the array, this array of objects. So let's go to MDN web docs and then MDN map. See what the map function does. All right, the map method in JavaScript. All right, the map method, the map object holds key value pairs and remembers the original insertion order of the keys. Any value, both object and primitive value, may be used as either key or value. I believe you have made use of this map, the map object in JavaScript, in vanilla JavaScript. All right, so that's what I'm going to use to separate these values, the values gotten from these probes here. So I want to, let me say, I want to pull out each data one for each. So I think this should not be needed. I want to pull out a separate data completely. So in order to make use of the JavaScript in our JSS, we have to make use of curly braces, right? And then this is props dot unn dot map, all right? The map function and the name, I want to name it when it's being mapped. Let's say, let's say, let me call it lists. At least should be not making use of arrow function and then return. So what am I going? What do I want to return? I want to return, let me say, a div. Let me say, yeah, a div. To return a div. All right. Okay. So inside this particular div, would have, let me say, list items, and then it could be bringing the JavaScript lists dot wait, I think I'm doing something wrong. So what values do we have here? List dot name. Okay. All right, this should work perfectly fine. So if I should go over here, so I'm printing in all the names, going through each and every one of them, looping through all of them. Henry, Darlington, Romeo, and Peter. And then I could still go over and print what other values do we have? School, then about school, and then about. And this is just little late. We have Henry, his school. All right, I could make this thing a little bit better. Name, school, and then info. All right, so this is a little bit. This is a lot better. Hope you guys are following. Please, are you guys following? Please say something. Darlington, are you around?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here, and we can. We are actually following. At least I'm following.
All right. Hope I'm not too fast.
No, 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 not at all.
All right. All right. Ezekiel, Samuel, and Bildad, are you guys following? Please say something. You can ask question. Feel free to ask question. Drop it in the chat. Yeah, of course you should drop it in the chat. Please say something so that I can move on. All right. Ezekiel, Samuel, gracias. You're following. So basically what we just did now, we achieved two things at once. First thing, we were able to pass out this blockchain UNN array into employee components, good, as UNN as a pointer to it. Now what we just did is passing of props exactly, and then um I think I'm pretty fast. And then we're able to list out this some React applications. Yeah, rendered list items in React JS. So looking at this, I think we covered components as states, but no, we are not just gonna go like that. We'll still continue. I think we have lots into here because I'm feeling a little bit teachy today somehow. So I don't think I'm stopping yet. Sadality, nope, I'm allowed to touch just a little bit of introduction to hooks.
Yeah, you can. Why not? Sure.
All right. And okay, you guys are following. That's nice. I would appreciate if you guys ask questions, please. I would really appreciate. Please go on and ask questions. Please go on and ask questions. Though it seems pretty easy, but I don't think you guys are with your laptop. No wonder you're not asking questions. Please try something out and ask a lot of questions. I want to know that you guys are following. Ezekiel, are you with your laptop? Builder, are you with your laptop? Informa, are you with your laptop? Please say something, guys. All right. In the absence of that, I'm going to move on. All right, then we'll be talking about React hooks. No, should I just move on without hearing you guys say something? Please show me that proof that you're following me. Okay, no one's saying anything. All right. Then I'll still move on to the class. It's live session and it's recorded, so you guys can always come back to it and make references. All right. Then we should be diving straight to React hooks. Now, introduction to React hooks. So let's just go straight to our reactjs.org. That's React official website. All right. So introducing hook. That's where I should have gone straight. All right. All right. Hooks are a new addition in React 16.8. They let you use state and other React features without having to make use of class. Now, earlier we said that class components, yeah, it has a built-in state. But in this case now, with the introduction of hooks, you don't need to make use of class components anymore before you can access states. In this case, you can just import use states from the React library itself and everything will go well for you. Now, hooks starts each and every hooks. The moment you see use in anything, just know that start with use, just know that yeah, this is used. Let's say this is a React hook. Now, let's make use of there are lots of React hooks. There are a lot of them. We have the use state hook, the use effect hook, um, use ref. There are a lot of React hooks. Let's see if they are all listed here. Let me see. I want to check if they are listed here. Hooks. No, they aren't listed here. All right, but the first we'll be talking about is I think I will have to drop the list of this later. All right. Okay, so we'll be introducing the use state hook. Now, based on the React documentation, what we are seeing here, the new function use state is the first hook we will learn about, but in this example, it's just a tease or whatever. Now, the hook React JS, unlike vanilla JS, it stages changes. Now, we talked about if a component being just a JavaScript function, right? So now that means as a function, it only runs once, except something triggers it to run more than once. With that being said, React schedules changes to the UI. It schedules changes. Now, I want to give you a typical example of what I'm saying because what I'm saying seems kind of off. Now, I have a constant here, Romeo, which is equals to constant name is equals to Romeo. Fine. This is it. And then over here I want to have click function. Let me clear this. I don't think I really need this for now. So I want to comment this out. So over here, I'm rendering out the name. I'm rendering this out. I'm rendering Romeo. Okay. And then I have a button. Change name. And inside it I have an on-click event, which takes in a function. Let me say function change name. All right, that function is over here. Let me say function change name. All right, that function, what you should just do is instead of using const, let me use let's name so it can be changed so it becomes mutable. All right, I want to set name to be equals to Darlington. All right, if I should come over here, I'm clicking this, it's not changing. Why? Now, like we said, React JS schedules changes. Now, this particular thing here, I'm rendering name, right? But the name still remains Romeo. But this function here is meant to change from Romeo to Darlington. Now it looks like it's not working, but it is working. It is working. Let's print this to the console. Let's say console.log console.log name. See what's going on here. So if I should click this, now the name changed from Romeo to Darlington here. It's working perfectly fine, but it's not being updated in the React UI. Why? Hope I'm not off like I did before. If you guys are here.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly.
All right, all right, all right, all right. So now, if I should click this, the name is being updated from Romeo to Darlington, but it's not being updated in the UI. Why? Now, React React component is just a function and it stages changes. Now, if a function is not being triggered, that particular change will not be updated. And this particular function here, this employee component is not being re-rendered. So there is no way the UI should be updated because the particular function is not being updated. It's not being re-rendered. So that's where use state comes in. Now the use state hook forces the particular component to be re-rendered. Yeah, it will trigger it, it will update the UI. It helps in updating the UI. So the particular function should be triggered once again. Once that particular thing is clicked and the use state function is being called, then it will trigger a change to the UI. So then how do you make use of this use state hook? All right. So making use of the use state hook, you have to import use states from the React library. All right. So import use states from React first. And then how do you make use of it? Now, one thing you should know about um, hooks, React hooks in general, is that you should never call React hooks in a nested function. You can only call them as top level. You don't call them in a nested function. You don't make use of them in a nested function. They are always um, at the top level. So therefore, I have to make use of it here, and it's a function. This is use states. All right, use state function. Now there are three steps I want you to understand, and there are three steps. Now, what's this value? This use state hook as a function, it accepts a value, which is the initial state. That is the initial value. So my initial value should be Romeo, right? That's the name. All right. That's the initial value. It accepts the initial value. and it returns two things. It returns two things. It returns an array of two stuffs, which is the array, the name, like let's say a pointer to that part, to the function. Yeah, it returns a pointer to the function and the updater. That's the function updater. Let's say what updates the function more like. So something like this, we can have const, let's say name change. All right, sorry. Name change. All right, and then set name change. All right. So this, what we are doing here is it returns an array, right? And we are destructuring, pulling out the pointer to this function, and then the function updates. The function updates method, more like it, this set name change is a method to update the function, to update the value of that particular function. That is what the set, the other one is. Now, there is a naming convention for it. Now, this is name change, and this is set name change. Why did we add set name change to it? It depends. It's your choice to give it whatever you like. It will work perfectly fine. But name it like this, like he knows that fine. This is a pointer to this, and this one stages the changes. This is what the method that brings about the change. Okay, so like I said, as the pointer, so I'm going to use name change, should be what is rendered, right? Over here. So this is it. This is what should be rendered. And then inside this function, so instead of doing this here, I should just let this. So I should call the set name change function, then change the value to Darlington. I think this should do. All right. So this is gone to. So if I should come over here, once I click this, the name have been updated from Romeo to Darlington. Now, why was the name updated? Because this um, use state now forces this particular component to re-render, which enables the staged change to take effect in the UI. So I want to give another example before we round up for today on this. All right. And then I will be dropping an assignment actually. I want to create a counter. Okay. So I have a button here. I want to remove this too. All right. I should have to play this. All right. Okay. So let me name this increment, set increment. All right. Then I want to remove this function. All right. I should name it increase. Increase. You can make use of arrow function if that pleases you. All right. Let me say, let me call this +1. This should be a lot better. So I want to have a counter, yeah, that increases the value of this. Let's say value. I have a H2 element. The initial value is 0. I want this counter, once I click this button, it should add 1 to this. It should add 1 to it and keep on increasing. All right. So with this being said, now since I have my use state being imported, now the initial value that is the use state should take is not a string. It should be um 0. Yeah, the initial value is 0. Okay. So I want to increment this. So over here, I want to print out as a pointer, which is increments. Okay. So if I should go over, the value is now 0 because the initial value in the use state hook is 0, right? So now I want this to increase whenever I click on this button. Nothing is happening yet in this button. All right, nothing is happening yet to this button. So if I should click, so this is where the setter function comes in, the setter method more like. So I want to copy this. I want to repeat that once I click this function, it should trigger this method. All right, and it should set increment rather, should be plus 1. All right, and then once I click this, it's working perfectly fine. But then there is something wrong with this approach. I am not going to say it, I'm not going to explain it yet. All right, let's say I could add another button that decreases this. Should be here. All right, let's say decrease. All right, all right. So over here, this should be -1. All right. So over here, this should decrease. Meanwhile, this should increase. Now, there is a problem with this. This is working perfectly fine. That's nice. But there's a problem with this. This approach is kind of wrong. It's working fine, but the approach is not nice. So your task for the weekend should be, okay, find a better way to implement this approach that will work for you. All right.
Yeah, Romeo, are you there? I can't hear you anymore. Yeah, hello. Oh, right. Okay, guys, I think Romeo got disconnected at some point. Um, Definitely, I guess it's network issues. So I'm just going to send him a message and see if he can still come online. Well, it's almost time for us to round up. So, but we're just going to go on a quick break, and I'll reach out to Romeo. Hopefully, he gets back soon to complete what he was working on, and after that, we could call it a day here. All right, so we're just going to go on a quick break, and we'll be back shortly. All
All
right.
right.
Welcome back, Romeo. Yeah.
Sorry for the little network hang that just disappeared. So hope you guys got the assignment I dropped earlier. Are you with me, Sir Darlington?
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Hope you got the assignment I dropped earlier.
Yeah, I actually did.
All right, so that's nice. So with that being said, I think concluding for tonight. So you can take over the stage, sir.
Okay, can you just repeat the assignments, right? In case anyone
All
is
right.
not okay, we'll just go. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So I created this a counter, simple increments counter button. But this particular approach is very prone to bugs, very prone to errors. So I want them to create a better approach to this, a better approach, and also add a reset button that sets the value to the initial state, which is 0. I don't want it hard coded. So that's just the assignment. It's pretty simple.
All right, then. I think they got that. So if there are no questions, I think we'll be rounding up here. Thank you so much, Romeo, for coming around. I greatly appreciate. And guys, the recording will be available on the YouTube channel. So, in case you really didn't understand anything or you are looking to check on anything, you could just come back to reference the video. And I think that will be it. Thank you so much, guys, for coming around, and do have a lovely week ahead. Right. Goodbye, everyone.
All right. Bye.